Riu tugithie na mbere ni tukinyite handu ha kumenya uria mbara yathondekirwo na niki andu ni ciiko iriku andu mekaga niguo mbara yambiririe na mehitwa ria makoragwo nayo na niku maiguanaga uria mekurwa mbara. Yes.
Okay, but the war, the Mau Mau war now, I said the first Muma was started in Muranga by Joseph Kang'ethe group, the case Kikuyu Central Association. And what happened is, in Koinange, of course, I said he was offered backlands, refused. He was offered, they gave some people to, in Limuru, Deya, and some people went there. But what had happened is, Muzungu, they bought land in Oroguruoni. They bought quite a big chunk of land. And they wanted now to settle after the commission. One of the things, the results of the commission was even to remove most of the squatters in Rift Valley. So this is aftermath of the commission. They agreed they are going to buy land and put the squatters in one land. They bought land. They even added about 10,000 acres because the Maasai were complaining. There are some Kikuyu who had gone somewhere called Sibiri and they are sort of dominating that area and they want them out. So Mzungu bought a bigger land in Oroguruoni. And when they bought land in Oroguruoni, what happened is the people who were given Oroguruoni, they thought they are going to divide it as the people who were given land in Lari. The people who were given land in Lari were moved from Tigoni. After the Second World War, some people, Mzungu wanted to expand. He wanted Tigoni to be taken by Mzungu. There were about 10 families.
Moved to Tigoni.
Who are staying in
and
Tigoni.
They are now being asked to move again.
No, about 10 families are staying in Tigoni. And they want to move them out. So there is no that island of Africans in the White Highland. So that they agreed they are going to take them to Lari. Lari to them, to Mzungu, was a forest, was a government land. Although my father knew even the owners of that land. Of Lari? Yeah. They had about 3 families who owned Lari. Okay. But Mzungu didn't listen. So he took the people and took them to Lari. The people who were taken to Lari, they divided Lari the way they were staying in Tigoni. The 10 families divided. Our family had a bigger land, so we are going to get a bigger land.
The same way as they had lived in Tigoni.
Equivalent. I mean, they were getting maybe about 3 times their land in Lari, their land in Tigoni, in Lari. So when they divided, of course, they settled. They were not all happy because, like some chief that time, the chief Kahangara was. I think they argued he took quite a big chunk, more than what, and I think it is what made people want to kill him even after when there was the Lari massacre. So the people who were taken to Oroguruoni, they thought it would be the same. We know our families in wherever we have come from.
We reorganize
ourselves and divide this land. And they were also saying, we are going to get the land between Kiambu and Oroguruoni is also going to be our land. Yeah, we are not going to be passing Mzungu land to go to Lari. That was the argument. Because like here in Kiambu, a place like Dadine, where the people used to take their cattle to take salt, they were refused because the Muzungu owns that land. Although they can take when they are bringing their cows there, it is going through Muzungu land. So they refused them. Muzungu here also, they started damming. The small rivers, they are coming from wherever they are coming, they break the river so to make a dam. So people on the downside like us, they will not get water because all the rivers have been blocked. Those were all the grievances. So when they were given that land, that's what they argued. They said, okay, we will divide ourselves, we know how to. And we also want this corridor between here, Kiambu and Luguroni, is also going to be our land. Yeah, we don't want to be passing through somebody else's land. So Muzungu was not happy. He said, oh, no, it can't happen. This is a settlement area. We are going to be telling you what to plant, which season. So they said, it became very controversial. So the people there, their leader was called Samuel Koinange. He came with about 150 people. I mean, about 100 people. More than, because they were my mother was telling me they were eating 2 sacks of unga in a day. 90 kilo bag, 2 of them. You can imagine how many people are eating in every day. So they came here, they were staying up here. They were camping here. The people now from Origuroni. They came and told Koinange, now, you asked us, Koinange had been asked to go and talk to them in Rift Valley to make them, for them to agree to go to Origuroni. Koinange had talked to them. He was taken there by Muzungu to talk to ask them to move. And Koinange had gone there with even Madhu, even Kenyatta. They had talked to them. So they agreed to move. Now where they have moved, still Muzungu is following them. He wants them to do what they... So they said, no. If we are here, it's us to decide what to do. So Muzungu did not like it. In every court, I told you, all the courts had people who would give oath as the final, even Kiambu court, all courts, even in Nakuru courts, there were people, there were some wazees, when you completely disagree, you say you take oath. There are some wazees in the court to give you oath. So this wazee, Muzungu took them to Origuroni, give them oath to agree to stay here.
Okay.
So they were given oath. So when they came here, they told...
So they used oath givers to convince Olunguroni people.
So when they came here to Koinange, they told Koinange, we know we and people here who have come here, most of them have been given oath. Don't worry, we'll take another oath to rub off the one you are taken from Muzungu. So those people who came here, they were all given oath. So when they went there, that group gave everybody an oath. In fact, Kikuyu oath was only taken by a grown-up. Okay. I told you how they used to take. So it could not be taken by women. It could not be taken by children. But now when they went to Oguroni, they gave children and women, everybody took oath. So the group that visited Koinange here, once they took another oath, when they went back to rub off, it was everybody. Everybody. So that was, I think, 46 or so, 1946. So everybody has taken oath now. Now the oath they are taking there is that they are going to stay. Nobody is going to tell them what to do. And Muzungu, it became like war now. They were chased out. The alternative, they had been given alternative to go to Yatta. The land now, I think, have been taken by youth service. It was the alternative of Origuroni. So when those people are coming here, now from 48 and all that, they had those songs now, these days you are hearing people singing of Itungat. Those are the songs we are singing from Origuruoni now. Everybody knew kumeharibika. Sasa vita imeanza. So they moved out. And when they moved out, of course, those people who are a bit more organized, they knew now this, they took that, they knew now it can be done. If we give people oath, tutapata muzungu must go. Yeah. So, Bildad Kagia is presenting people from Muranga. Madenge, Stanley Madenge, representing from people from Nyeri. And Fred Kubai, representing people from Kiambu. They all now came to Koinange. And now that is the first group now. They said now we are going to take another oath of batoni, of battle. We are going to fight. Now after this oath, it wants kutafuta. Why the word batoni? Batoni, battle. Okay, battle. Yeah. Okay, very good. Yeah. Yeah, it's for fighting now. It's battle. So they took, now they started that oath now. This is the third oath. I told you the first oath was taken by people in Muranga. The second one was in Origuruoni. With the soil on the navel? Yeah, the other one is Origuruoni, which now they have moved out of the norms of Kikuyu. Now everybody. They are giving everybody, even children. Now this other one now is the battle. The battle is a bit more serious. Yeah, they are not giving children, but it's a bit more serious because now this is it's an oath of readiness. It's a serious word because now they started collecting guns. Some of, like one of my brother had so many taxis. The taxi drivers were always there at Norfolk. When they take people who are drunk, the Muzungu is drunk, being taken home, they take the gun, they drop him somewhere, they go. So everybody now, they were getting guns. Yeah, I know there was somebody, one of my other brother was telling me, most guns would be collected and put somewhere in Embakasi. And because he used to be a teacher and nobody would think a teacher would be in this thing, then you go with a motorbike to Embakasi and carry the guns, bring them home. So now this became a nothing place. Everybody here is being given oath. If you refuse, then you are not for us. Everybody for us have to take an oath. Because now the oath is like they are agreeing we are going to fight. So when the group in Githunguri, the Kiama of the Kikuyu, they did not like the oathing of Origuruoni. Because to them, they know Gikuyu type of oathing should be this way. Yes. So they were a bit against. The Christians were also not happy of the oathing, of course, because the things they are doing is not Christian. But now everybody else, now you are either on our side or not. So everybody became, those 2-3 groups joined when it became the Batoni oath. The young Turks, those I was telling you from Madenge, and now they was there from Githunguri, and now Koinange is still leader of the Baris. And Koinange bitterness and all that is because of land. So people who are after land, and now these people, they all joined. They were calling it Kiamba Parliament. Then Kiamba Parliament was meeting here. It's the first parliament outside the other parliament. This was now their own parliament. And now the Kiamba Parliament, you see now the people who are in the Kagia is in charge is of the union, workers union. He was in charge of domestic workers union. And most of the workers that time were domestic workers. Or Wazungus, either you are shamba boy or you are kitchen boy. Or whatever it is, those are domestic workers. They're either working for Muzungu or Muhindi. The other group is, which was also another big union was for transport a mechanic. And now their leader was Kubai. Kubai that time had just come from detention. He had been detained for 7 months, I think 7 or 9 months, because he wanted to kill Ofafa in town. Because in Nairobi, there were some councillors who were for the Muzungu. And the other councillors were not. So they decided to kill them. And Kubai was...
That is Kubai?
Yeah, Kubai. So what had happened is, in 1950, they wanted to make Nairobi city. Nairobi was going to be the city. And they had brought in Duke of Gloucester was to be the guest, the chief guest. Duke of Gloucester, they were planning when Duke of Gloucester come, we are going to give him a chair, a Kikuyu chair, doing a Masai.
A stool.
Yeah, a stool, a Masai something, and a Kamba something to make him look more African. And now Kubai was not buying that. He said, those people who are organizing this, before the Gloucester come, we'll kill them. That's what Kubai decided. They will kill all of them. All those Botera and all that. So they didn't. Of course, intelligence knew, and he was taken in. So this time now they are coming here. Kubai had just come from jail for 9 months. So you see now all of them are stirred up. And the Muma is also something stirring them up. They're saying, of course, Zungu.
So now we have several centers of oath commitments. We have Olunguruone, we have the Transport Workers Union, we have the Kubai's people. The domestic, Kagia's people in the domestic Workers Union. And then we have the family of Koinange here, who are also working in the preparedness.
No, when now the people Kubai is reading in Nairobi, people Kagia is reading in Nairobi, most of them in Nairobi, because you see they also have got their people in, like Kagia has got people in Muranga. The other one, Madenge, has got his people from Nyeri. All the people who are being read now, when you gather them, you bring them here to take an oath. They were all coming here.
So the Koinange home was central.
It was central. Everybody was coming to take oath here.
Very good,
They were all coming. And part of the oath is that they are going to go to the forest. And when they go to the forest, they are going to come back. And that was the usual thing in Kikuyu way of going to war. When they used to go to war with Masai.
You go to war to win and come back.
When you go to war, you come back and you report whatever you are going to get. You are going to bring it home. So that was the agreement. So they all knew whatever it will happen, they will have to come back to Koinange and tell them, because now it's like their father. We have done this. And some of the Kikuyu customs, like when you are going to war as a son, whoever put you a belt, you know Kikuyu are not wearing clothes. One cloth, waguo moja tu hapa. So every house you are naked. And they used to live like that. So the one who is going to give you a belt, ya kubeba sword, ni mama yako.
Your mother?
Kwa sababu mama yako, whatever you are, hakuna uchi. Aliona hata ukiwa mtoto. Kwa hivyo, kwa mama yako hakuna uchi. So mama yako anakufunga that belt. Anakutuma kichaka. I mean, ukapigana na Masai or whatever. So when you finish, you come unamrudishia hiyo, anakufungua, na anatoa hata
anaweka mambarita.
Anaweka kwa nyumba. He's proud. My son amerudi, amewin.
You've done your work.
If you have killed somebody, he's even more proud. Eh? You go around singing a song they used to call Waime, showing that is of the group who have killed Masai or something.
Yes.
So they were also proud. So most of the people here were being sent by Joyce. Because Joyce is the grandfather to Jeff, grandmother to Jeff. She's the one who was sending people to the forest as a mother. So even that one, the belt which Dead and Kimathi, you can when you see the picture of Dead and Kimathi on Kimathi Street, he has a gun.
He's wearing
and he has a sword. It looks odd. If you have a gun, you don't need a sword. So sword is not for war. It's symbolic.
It's symbolic.
It's symbolic.
Yes.
Yeah. You've been sent. You have been.
What was the symbolism of Haile Selassie's visit on this compound? And the sword that he left with Koinange.
The sword which Kimathi is wearing, they were brought here by Haile Selassie. In fact, there is a family in Banana. They're called Gabure. Gabure, that mzee was from Ethiopia. He's a Mogashi.
Okay.
And now, being a Mogashi, he was the translator when
Haile Selassie visited.
When Haile Selassie visited. He was translating to Haile Selassie in his own language. Yeah, because he had come here a long time ago. And he's also married to one of our relatives. So when Haile Selassie came, they made an agreement that he's going to help train people to go to war. So those people who are being sent, that's why Haile Selassie gave the sword. Whoever is going to be in charge, give him this sword. And the other one, these two swords, you give the people who are in charge. So Koinange gave one sword to the wife.
Joyce.
Yeah, because she was going to be in charge. Joyce was the national treasurer of Mau Mau before they brought somebody else. After they joined KCA, then somebody else took that. Because Joyce had buses, and every evening after buses come, they bring the money in a mwago. You know those times in Mashiri. Kwa mkeka wanahesabu. So if Muzungu come and find Joyce with money, Joyce would easily explain. Niza basi, niza kazi. Muzungu knows nafanya kazi ya biashara ya basi.
Nishiawera.
I've corrected. Nishiawera. Without knowing, those buses, when they are going up, another lady from Gashie, somewhere called Gasharagen, were called Wanjohe. Wanjohe was now in the bus collecting money for the Mau Mau. When the bus goes where she's there, those people, when they get money, they go into the bus, they give to Wanjohe. They know that
it will get where it's supposed to go.
Yeah. Then Wanjohe will bring to Joyce. Joyce was the national treasurer of Mau Mau. So they will count the money and keep. When they bring other things, the Joyce's son was keeping the guns. So it's actually, I would say it's sad that the family was not compensated in any way. Even last time when people went to Britain, they were paid I don't know how much. The family, nobody in that family got even a cent. And not only...
Yet the treasury was here.
Not only that money, but even the land, which they were fighting for. That family did not get even mchanga ya mkebe ya nyumbani. Where you can, where you plant something in a garden at home. They didn't get anything. So it was actually very sad.
Yeah.
So now they have started correcting. There is now people, the movement here would attract Mzungu. So when people started coming in big way here, they moved the station to Banana. They was meeting at John Mbio's Koinange, now one of the Koinange son, and Mbio Koinange, the ministers, also land somewhere. That's where now people from Nairobi, were coming. And it went on until now they started giving oath in Nairobi in places, and now those people in Nairobi, they started going outside their home place in Murang'a and Nyeri. But the whole group, they had promised to come back here.
Okay, back to Haile Selassie and his symbolic sword. Was there a commitment to help arm or finance or help militarily?
Yeah.
The establishment
in fact,
of
he
Mau
had
Mau?
promised. In fact, when people say Madenge was in, if he of course must be dead in Ethiopia, is those they were following that. They knew there was an agreement between Koinange and Haile
about assistance.
There is assistance. Maybe if things get hot, they can go down to him or something like that. There was an agreement. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, let's move on to what happened after the war proper began, and people went into battle. Some got killed, some killed, and they executed the war. How was the war? How was that agreement about coming back? How was it effected?
Well, let me say, when now something in 1952 in August, there was a big meeting in Kirigiti. That meeting, they called Koinange. It was organized by Mzungu. They called all the chiefs, Chief Mohoho, Chief Jonjo, Chief all those chiefs, all the Waruhiu and all that group. They were all called in Kirigiti. But the aim was Kenyatta was supposed to denounce Mau Mau, and Koinange was supposed to denounce Mau Mau, because all that time Mzungu knew Koinange is not part of it. I mean, they were saying Koinange is not part of it. But before that, in 1940, when KCA was banned, it was banned. The KCA now was the Jomo Kenyatta Party. When they banned it in 1940, their office in Nairobi, people came who were doing the intelligence. They came to check, and they found one of the one I told you joined KCA called George Kirongothi. George Ikoro Kirongothi is from Karura. He carried some files. He was the Secretary General. He carried the files. He went with them in Karura. The other files and whatever was left there, the Mzungu, when he came and perused those documents, he noticed Koinange is actually the leader of the...
In the center.
Is the center. So they came and told him, wow, now we have discovered you are that, and now there is no alternative. They sacked him. They sacked him. You are no longer a chief. But
what date was that?
It was now in 42. Although KCA was banned in 40. In 42, they sacked him as a chief, senior chief. But they thought if like before they've been coming to Koinange's and they learn a few things, if Koinange is not a chief, we will not be able to enter his place. So the best thing, Koinange, you still be a chief, but without you got no location. Yeah.
No duties.
So we will give you salary. When that time chiefs, like Koinange was getting 125 shillings per month. Jomo Kenyatta that time as a meter reader before that was getting 250.
Okay.
So he's getting double the senior chief's salary. So it was not a big thing. But now they said, we'll continue giving you the salary, but you have got no location. That to them, would be able to be coming to Koinange because he's their subject. They are paying him salary, and they can know what.
So they still need him in spite of discovery.
They thought they need him. So that time, that already Koinange had been moved. He was no longer a senior chief. So in this meeting in Kirigiti, they wanted Koinange to say, I don't know anything about Mau Mau and Kenyatta. Kenyatta, when he started speaking, he said that Mau Mau murathire miria mikongo. Then the Muzungu didn't understand that. They tried to
it's a very profound phrase.
Yeah, what is this Miriam Kongo? He actually, the letter said, no, he didn't denounce it. He told them to go underground. Because Miriam Kongo is underground. That's what they thought. Then Koinange himself, he said, I'm 84 years old now, and we helped Mzungu fight the First World War. In fact, we sent people, so many of our people didn't come back. The Second World War, we also helped Mzungu fight. And when they came out, they were given the land in Karen, given land in Tigoni, and us, nothing. We didn't get anything, and we helped their fight. So he said, me, I have, since I was born, I have not seen any burial of Mzungu. So people now understood Koinange. You know, they have been taking oath. Most of them are nearly the whole crowd. They have taken oath. He, the one is talking to them. So they knew he was telling them.
He was talking to them.
Yeah, of course, it's a big meeting in Kirigiti. Big meeting of maybe 10,000 people. Yeah, so they knew Koinange is telling us to go and get our land back. So Mzungu didn't also understand what Koinange said. But that was now the opening of war. In less than 2 months, 1.5 months, the chief Waruhi was murdered in Gashie. And now the first person to be arrested was Koinange. They came here, they asked him, Koinange, have you heard the news? He said, yes. Kashiko. He also noticed his two sons have been taken on. John Mbio, where now the Kagia and Kubai were meeting across there. Taken. Then they take Noah Karoga, now one of the son of Joyce. They were taken, 3 of them. Then they were accused. They stayed in police cells for quite some time. Somebody helped.
How old was he at the time?
Koinange. Koinange, I told you when he said, I'm 84 years old.
84 years old?
That's what he said in Kirigiti.
When he was in prison?
So he was imprisoned after saying he's 84. So he was about 84.
Okay.
Yeah. He was about 84 when they took him. So they stayed in police Mirimani for some time. Somebody helped them to be taken to remand in Australia. They stayed in the Australia doing their case. He brought in a king council, Dingo Foot. They found, although he was not accused of killing. Well, he was accused of being an accessory to the death of Lari. So he won the case, and they were supposed to be released. But outside the court, so now, of course, already now emergency have been announced. Now that still now you are being taken in for the emergency law, and he was taken to Kamete stayed for small days there. He went to Gadigiridi, Gadigiridi in Kirinyaga. From Gadigiridi, he was taken to Marsabit, where he spent most of his time there, in Marsabit.
Okay.
When they started now, like releasing him, they brought him to Kabarnet. Stayed in Kabarnet. Kabarnet, they allowed Joyce to go. And Joyce had been jailed in Kametev prison for quite some time. But now she was taken there to stay with the husband. And after, when he was nearly dying, they noticed so many things. When one of Koinange's daughter went there, he found they had put some powder in his bed to kill him. So they of course, nothing they can do. He died slowly. So when he came out, he didn't even finish a month home.
Yes. Prior to that, there was a visit on this compound by a certain Mr. Fenner Brockway, who created a certain amount of motion because he agreed or seemed to sympathize with Chief Koinange.
Fenner Brockway and another lady, I think they were calling somebody Castle. They were in the Labour Party. And they were some of the people who are saying, who are not so much for the government, the way it is treating the Kenya citizens. I mean, the natives. That's what they were calling them. So Fenner Brockway and in Britain, he was a friend of Bio. And then, and Bio was, when they announced the emergency, Bio was also not allowed to come home. He was now like a refugee. He could not come home. So Fenner Brockway was sort of helping the fight, sort of.
Okay.
But he came here. He met Koinange and all that. But they didn't help much because it didn't help much. There were other people who also used to come. There is somebody like Peter Abrahams from South Africa. They all came
in that phase.
Yeah, they used to come and because they couldn't understand why a chief, a very loyal chief, is being mistreated this way.
So now we have we arrived at the run-up, to serious discussions about how to let go of the colony of Kenya and how to come up with independence. And we know that there were certain strategies used by the British government to purchase, to give a loan, to lend money to Kenya so that Kenya could buy back land for those who are willing buyers and willing sellers, so that the settlers could let go of land if they were willing.
Well,
how did that whole process in the run-up to independence go?
Well, after independence, that was after independence. When the people who had gone to the forest...
Begin maybe with the story of Lancaster House. And how the Koinange influence was removed, including locking up in handcuffs, ensuring that Bio could not move, even from London.
He could not.
Remember, he had a job in the US, and they refused to allow him to go to teach in the US. So let's begin with that.
That I think Bio's story, we talk Bio's story another day, because Bio was also on his own. He did so many things. But of course, even Bio, when he was in London, he had gone back to London to do his PhD. In London School of Economics. He didn't finish. But when he was in London, he was on a scholarship. In fact, that's when they met with Kenyatta. And Kenyatta was confessing that he had eaten enough food when they met with Bio.
That's when he was able to eat.
To eat, because Kenyatta have been sent here by people who are sending him, when they are correcting the money, they
It's 5 shillings, 2 shillings, 4 shillings.
That is very little. So Bio was being on a scholarship. He was not badly off. But now when Koinange, the family here, of course, it came out that the family are reading the Mau Mau and all that. Of course, Bio was also now in bad books. And when he's in bad books, they also mistreated him so badly. In fact, they even refused him to come and see his father because he wanted to come and see his father now in detention. And he's the dying man. They refused. They did so many bad things to him. They refused him to come. In fact, according to the laws of even today, when you are staying there, you can visit other places, but not your home. That's what they say. Even people who go to America today, and they can come through to Kenya, through Tanzania. They say they are going to Tanzania when they cross. That's what they saw. Immigration law. So Bio was not allowed to come to Kenya, but he was allowed to go to other places, not Kenya. So he went to, when Ghana was getting independence, Bio went there, became an advisor on education. He stayed there. Then they started the OU, the one now we are fighting for to get. And Bio was the Secretary General of the OAU. That time they were calling
the OAU.
Yeah, they were calling it Pasmeka. He was, and the headquarters was in Tanzania. So Bio came to Tanzania. He was, in the fact, when he was in Tanzania, he was coming home. He was in charge. He was the Secretary General of Pasmeka. So I stayed there until now. After independence, there we became a Minister of Education. What I was saying is, Koinange, he was when during the there was a question I wanted to answer. I can't remember what you asked.
I wanted the whole run up to the independence. Negotiations,
So Koinange, of course, he's detained. So when they are negotiating independence and all that is, but after independence, in 1960, before we even got independence, Koinange died.
Okay.
So he died before, he never saw independence. But what happened is the government then, when the first government, that's what they call it, I don't think it was very sincere to the people who had gone to the forest. Because they started a project. They were saying they agreed with the British government that they are going to give money from Commonwealth Bank to buy the development of the land. And when you pay the development, you pay to the owners, who have developed.
For capital developments.
Yeah, the Mzungu get the money in sterling pounds and you go back and leave the land. Then most of the people who would be able to buy that development were the people who were, during that time, were already loyal to the Mzungu government. So the Mau Mau and the people, and now the just mother and all that, they could not afford. They have just been in detention. How can they afford to buy even a land of 200,000, even if it's that cheap? So most of the land was taken over by people who are not the fighters of the land. And now the people who are already, were still in the forest, they were not happy. They refused to come out. They refused to leave. They were telling Kenyatta, we can't come out because our agreement with Koinange
was to get back our land.
To get back our land. And we had promised we are going back to Koinange. In fact, there was about 30 Mau Mau groups. They formed so many different groups. And in 1999, during Moi government, they asked Moi permission, can we be allowed to go to Koinange home? And they came. Some of them came. They came and they slaughtered cows here, they ate and all that. Because if you don't go back and you had swear to go back, when you die and you die somewhere in Muranga, you tell your family, if I die before I go back to Koinange, because I had promised, and maybe that is what is eating me, that's what is killing me. Go there and get some soil, go and put it in I step on it. So I feel like I've gone back.
I've done my duty.
So this thing does not follow my children. Because Muma would follow even the children's children.
The children's children.
So and even now, there are people who still feel that. Feel that we didn't go back. Our parents, maybe that's what killed them. So there is still that thing. And some maybe one day we might be able to get it done, to get it organized here. Because most of the people who, even like Madenge, when they are saying he's in Ethiopia, he was in Ethiopia because there was an agreement with Koinange and his people, and he's one of them, that we are going to do something, we are going to help you. If things go back, land back to us, we'll help you. We'll help you push back. So it has not been the way,
Okay. All right. Now, maybe in conclusion, we can begin to look at the Koinange family after the independence, in the independence era. Were they given their rightful prominence or their rightful regard in relation to the fight for the war?
Well, that one, it's actually sad to say no. And it's actually, I don't know what is going to happen. Because you can imagine, like now, the lady I was telling you, she was the national treasurer of Mau Mau. Her son, even before we started now taking, the fight, people going to the forest and all that, when they started collecting guns, his son, when he was cleaning the gun, he killed himself.
Okay. During this preparatory
period. He's preparing guns for war.
How did that happen?
I think he was cleaning a gun which had a bullet without knowing. So the bullet came out. And it was very bad because at that time, if he have been killed by a bullet, if Muzungu come and find it's a bullet, the first question you ask, where is the gun? And the guns are so many hidden in his house. So they buried him secretly.
Okay.
The schools here were closed. Everybody in the school, we walk and look for him. Wazungu knew somebody, he had disappeared. So we have to make sure we find him. Schools in Kiambaa were closed, all of them.
To look for this man.
To look for this man. And that time already is buried. He left children who were maybe less than 4 years old. His wife was taken into detention. That man. The second brother is just father. He's taken in detention. He stays there 7 years.
That is Fred.
Fred.
Yeah, okay.
He's taken there. That's another son. The third son is Noah, who was taken in immediately after Waruhi was dead, and he was detained. He was taken to Manyani. He was taken to Kisumu, then Manyani. their sister, this Joyce's daughter, was also murdered. It's called Lillian. Lillian used to send money to Bio with the newspaper. So you take a newspaper, arrange money, fold the newspaper, send it to a prince in India called Upper Pant. Then that prince, because his diplomatic bag, will take that newspaper to Bio in England in a diplomatic bag. So Bio get money. They discovered this Lillian. They killed her.
Okay.
The other girl, the older one, it's called Wanjiko. Wanjiko was beaten until her uterus came out in front by Muzungu. That is one. That's another one. Wanjiko's husband used to be driver of Kenyatta. Called Nahashon Tati. He was also jailed. And all that, after all that, not even a soil, a pot soil of what Koinange was asking for. Their father is gone, their mother is gone, all the children are in detention. I don't know what can be done.
Okay.
That is only one family. You can go to the other family and it will be the same story. There is another Wanjiko called Tabitha. She was also beaten in Dendero until she died. Following days, the chief who was beating her was told, no, Wanjiko didn't die. She took her to detention.
Okay.
She was jailed here in Kio River. They used to have a Kyugo, a detention place, and they were staying there naked. We went to visit her with my mother. I could not be allowed because everybody is naked, all the women. So, and even that, they didn't get anything. Yeah, so it's actually very
national recognition, no symbolic understanding of what the family did. Yet, the rebuilding of the Koinange family, in many senses, you see Jeff sitting over there, you see an Attorney General of the government of Kenya, you see a CS in finance. You see a lady who was the first top nurse in the country. You see many Koinanges who have rebuilt the name in their professional capacities. Is this like an uptick from the war, or is it personal?
I would not maybe I'll say it's God.
Personal effort.
I would say it's God.
It's God.
Because it's not the government. Nowhere had Mama Jeff been helped. Even what we are calling, what do people go for schools now these days?
Social assistance.
There is a name they call them. They give the students bursary.
Bursaries, okay.
She's not getting bursary. It's not anything. She, on her own, she tries and...
On her own effort.
Without a husband. And she's building and she take her children to the highest level they can. What we mentioned, somebody else is the same. So I think you cannot is God. You cannot give credit to anybody else. Okay. Because now, who else? How did it happen? Because what Muzungu wanted to finish. And
grind down everything.
And finish completely. That name should never come out again. For us, when we are doing school, in common entrance, that time there were common entrance. You fail. There are some instructions. Koinange should not pass. For me to do my standard 7,
instructions that they could not pass.
Yeah, they should not pass
the exams.
Exam.
Yeah.
For me to pass my exam in standard 7, I had to change my name.
Okay.
Yeah.
What did you change it to?
You just correct the name. You call I think my certificate reads Bogwa.
Yes.
I don't even know where I got the name from. Because if you don't, you'll not pass.
You'll not pass.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they really wanted to finish
the name.
The name. But then I cannot. That's why I'm saying it can only be God. That we have in one of the top broadcaster in Kenya. I mean, what else can you say? Yeah.
Okay. Finally, if there was some national sanity, to be put into the struggle and the era of gaining independence and fighting for it, organizing for it, if there was some national event of sanity coming into recognition of the people who sacrificed or who organized the attainment of independence for Kenya, if there was a museum or there was a stadium where national heroes were recognized and put on display for history to correct itself, where would you put the family, Koinange and his family, and all the matters that we've been discussing?
Well, I think now, like you are a scholar. You're a high-ranking scholar, and there are many of you. Those people who dig out this history and know the truth. And now, when they know the truth, I'm hoping somehow, they'll go back. Yeah, because if like the childrens of Kimathi, if they know this is how it is. Before you mentioned Kimathi, there was somebody who sent him. If they know that, and people who are following that, the children of Madenge, if they know that, the children of Kubai and all that, if these people, or even people who are just interested in Kenyan struggle, they will come back here home and maybe help us to, and help people to just know what we are saying now. Yeah. And maybe even what you're saying, a museum and all that, we have got land, we can give them and they can, whatever it is. Yeah. Yeah, people, and this land is not what Koinange lost in the Muzungu, because what he lost, he didn't get. This is what he bought after. Yeah, he bought after. And now even some of people, like Jeff, maybe they are bought what you're calling Maguta plots.
Maguta.
So, yeah, because I don't think there is anything else we can do. Yeah.
Now, a lot of activity took place exactly where we are sitting.
Yeah.
Would this kind of historical correction include, for example, building a monument or a library or a podium or a remembrance for Senior Chief Koinange?
In fact, there is one of the universities Bio went to in 1927, 26, when he went to America. When he was there, I mean, he was, to him, having come from Kenya, and a person from Kenya, the university asked how they would learn about Koinange, I mean, the Kikuyu customs and traditions. And Bio wrote home to his father. And father sent a whole container of things about Kikuyu to that university. And that university had been asking, they want to return those things, because to them now in America, they don't have a lot of meaning. They maybe have a more meaning in Kenya. So if we start something like that, it would be very easy to get something like that. People would see Kikuyu spears, Kikuyu clothes, because I think Koinange collected all those items and sent them to America. So if we can get that, it will be good for other people, because there are some people who want to learn. There are some people like me who don't want to hear that because it makes me feel bad. You know? Yeah, it can make you feel very bad. Yeah.
Okay.
But our children would want to something like that. Yeah.
There could be studies of that era.
Yeah, of course.
There could be understandings of why this particular venue is so important, with the house built in 1920.
Yeah, he built it
next to us.
Yeah.
And so I would like to think that part of what we are trying to achieve in this dialogue is to fill the gaps, and give a holistic picture of what happened before us. Because if we don't do it at this particular juncture, there are many, many young people. Actually, there are many people who are not so young, who do not know what happened.
Yeah.
So I would like to thank you a great deal for this afternoon and several hours of discussion, for basically carrying an encyclopedia of an entire era of pre-independence thinking. When people realized what was being done to them, their preparations to fight back and claim what was theirs, and the resolutions that are not perfect, but it's a story that continues to evolve. So I would like to thank you a lot. Thank you very much for the interview.
Karibu.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.